Namaste. Welcome to the session. In this theory session, we will be looking at the sequencing. What sequencing we should keep in the yoga practices and how the sequencing should be. So let's start the session sitting comfortably in a cross-legged posture preferably. Otherwise, you can sit in any comfortable posture with your spine straight. Close your eyes, resting your palms on your thighs with palms facing upwards and relaxing here. Gently close your eyes and moving in. Collect your awareness from all around and bringing your awareness to the body. Relax your shoulders, relax your elbows, relax your palms and your fingers, relax your face, relax your breathing, loosen the breath and settle down, keeping your spine straight. Observe your breath. How your breath is moving naturally. Feeling the touch of the breath on the nostrils, now shifting your awareness from your breath to back to your body. As you inhale and exhale, join your both the palms in Anjali Mudra in front of your chest, joining your palms in Namaste. We will chant Om with 3 exhalations consecutively. Inhale deeply. Inhale. Inhale. Slowly releasing your palms down and gently open your eyes. So in sequencing, first thing we are going to see is what are the traditional approaches in sequencing. How traditionally yogis used to practice in hatha yoga and how they used to keep the sequencing of the practices, what order they used to follow in practices. So First of all, Hatha Yoga was one of the many paths to uplift ourselves spiritually. So, Hatha Yogis used to follow particular techniques to uplift their energy, to evolve their consciousness. There are many such paths, many such spiritual cultures where different techniques are there, no techniques, techniqueless paths are there. So Hatha Yogis were the people who were walking on the path of willpower, who used to practice with effort, and they used to use the whole energy and put the energy into one direction. It was a very masculine path. These days, the path is very less followed. That intensity we don't find usually. The lineages of Hatha Yogis, many lineages came, but it is very difficult to find such Hatha Yogis today. There are, but not in that big numbers. So traditionally, a yogi will leave the society, a Hatha Yogi. He will go to a jungle, he will make his hut, and then he will protect his hut from the animals and create the surroundings around his hut. And then there are directions in the scriptures for how to keep the hut also. What is the way to maintain the hut? What is the way to maintain the surroundings of the hut? And then a yogi will start his practice living in that hut, eating the fruits and the vegetables and some local foods available within the vicinity. And the practice used to start very early morning. Yogi will start with cleansing practices, Shat Karma, Shat Kriyas. That also we will also do a few Shat Karmas in this course. Then yogi will enter into asana, further into pranayam, and then gradually moving into meditation. And then he will continue the meditation for long. The meditation, those previous stages were the preparation, cleansing the body, first removing all the distractions, obstacles, toxins from the body mind system. Then moving into the asana, channelizing the energy, and asana also purifies the energy, strengthens the body. Multiple benefits. These days, most of the people are just practicing asana only for the physical health or emotional release or something, some relaxation they are seeking, some medical health some physical health they want. That is the main objective today why yoga is becoming famous. It is not that suddenly the society is having thirst for spiritual evolution. It is more of health purpose. So that was one of the side benefit why yogi used to do asana. Then yogi used to move into pranayam and then further enter into meditation. It will take many hours. It used to take hours and hours for a yogi to complete those stages. And then same thing yogi will repeat maybe twice or thrice a day, evening also. And they used to meditate in the night, in the midnight. So a Hatha Yogi is completely focused only for spiritual evolution. He is not concerned about his job, he is not concerned about his family, he is not concerned about the society. So that is a very intense path. It is a monastic path, a renunciation, path of renunciation, where a person used to leave the society, and they also used to take some initiation under some guru, some master, and master used to guide the yogi what to do, what not to do, how to walk on the path, because many distractions come on this path. So you can say Hatha Yoga is the most masculine path in the spiritual world, most effortful path. It requires a lot of effort. It requires tremendous amount of collection of the energy and putting it into one direction. Tremendous totality is needed. So then traditionally that was the sequencing, that yogi will move from cleansing practices to meditation. In the long run, how the sequencing was, they say there are 4 stages. I will tell you the names. First one was the beginning stage, which is called Arambha Avastha. Arambha Avastha or beginning stage. So they say here the person just started practicing yoga, and a person started becoming familiar with their body, their mind. They started exploring the asana. They started entering into some practices, and then they started exploring the difficulties, how the mind is resisting to enter, to make you go into silence, how mind always wants you to remain active, how the awareness we are not able to keep, how we are unconsciously moving. So yogi somehow starts scratching the surface in this first stage. So arambha means starting. Arambha is a Sanskrit word or Hindi word also. So arambha means starting phase. Then after arambha avastha, a yogi will enter into ghata avastha. Ghata avastha. This is called vessel stage. Vessel stage. So here a yogi is practicing long time, very long time, intensely, dedicatedly entering into the spiritual practices. And then a yogi starts feeling how the qualities of mind are affected by the changes in the body, how the body mind system, how the complex is made, how the obstacles restrict him. He started observing and becoming aware about the energy blockages. So how this body is like a vessel, how this body, how his consciousness is staying inside this body. Some very minute distinction starts happening between the outer surface and the inner consciousness. A very small fragment of detachment he starts feeling. He starts watching himself from some distance. Then he see the whole being from one side. So moving more internally, one starts applying the breath retention practices also in pranayama, holding the breath and further advanced pranayamas and meditative states. So then gradually yogi starts refining and entering more into awareness. So ghata means in Sanskrit vessel. Ghata is vessel. So vessel stage, a yogi is able to see himself in a periphery, in a boundary. Then after long time of practice and arduous practice, a yogi starts feeling entering into parichaya stage, parichaya avastha. Avastha means stage. Parichaya. Parichaya simply means knowing someone. Like I know someone, I got to know someone, so it means I had a parichaya with someone. This is a Sanskrit word. So basically here a yogi is coming face to face with his own being. He is able to see himself, self-awareness stage, where a yogi is entering into the stage where he is able to see his mind running, his thoughts moving. he is more aware, more detachment starts happening. He started entering into more consciousness state, higher consciousness state. So here the person is entering more into becoming face to face with the self. That is why it is called parichaya avastha. And here the yogi starts gaining the overall integration of the body mind system. The breath, the body and the mind, they starts aligning in a coordination. And yogi starts getting to see the no mind states. Beyond the matter he starts entering. This will happen after very long practice and very intense total meditative states, deeper meditative states. Yogi will start entering into this parichaya avastha. And then the last and the fourth stage, they say, is nishpatti avastha. Nishpatti simply means consummation phase, where yogi is 24 hours aware, entered into full meditative states all the time. Detachment with body mind happened. Yogi is beyond the matter. The self consciousness which started improving, which he started encountering in parichaya avastha, that self awareness started expanding and merging into supreme consciousness. So individual consciousness is meeting the supreme consciousness in this nishpatti avastha, consummation phase. Consummation stage. So here there is no difference between the self and the God. Here the yogi enters into the kingdom of God. This is the highest state, nishpatti avastha. So everything one does in this state, in this stage, in this avastha, whatever yogi does is with awareness. Everything he does is a meditation. He is moving, that is moving meditation. He is walking, that is moving meditation. He is sitting, sitting meditation. Eating, meditation. So everything is done with total awareness. So that is nishpatti avastha. A yogi reaches from arambha to nishpatti after long time of practice and so many stages, so much of transformation of the being, so much of change in the energy system. That is how a yogi would enter into the higher states of yoga. That was the sequencing of how a yogi will transform himself. So in the beginning, as we already discussed, yogi will start with arambha avastha with shatkarmas, with cleansing practices, then some asana, pranayam. At the end, yogi may not do too many of asana or some shatkarma or cleansing. He may enter more into meditative states. At the end, he may not need more of preparation, because apart from the physical benefit of asana is mainly there to prepare the body mind to sit in meditation. Pranayam is also there to prepare the breath and the emotions and the body to sit in meditation, to first clean the pranic body, the energy body, and then you can enter into the meditative state. You sit in meditation and be aware. So that was the traditional approach. Now these days when people are practicing yoga, it is more related to the asana, more related to the physical body. It is more related to the medical conditions, more related to the anatomy. People are looking more into muscles rather than energy during the yoga practice. So the objective is different, and according to that also we should help people. So when people will come to you, certain points in your yoga sequencing are very important. So the first one is informed. We are learning yoga from many places. We as yoga teachers are learning from different schools, different cultures of yoga, because there is no such predefined book which we got downloaded from the sky. It was a revelation. It is just out of awareness people have realized that what is nature, what is the truth, and they have made their own techniques how to reach to that stage of total awareness. So those enlightened masters like Buddha, like Krishna, like Zen masters, so many enlightened masters like Patanjali, they have given us the path to walk upon. And then there were so many hatha yogis who has given so many techniques to us. So they knew what those techniques are going to do with us, how we will be transformed through those techniques, and in what difficulties we will be entering, and through what phases we will be passing through. We may not know because we have not seen those stages of consciousness, but they have walked throughout those paths, so they know better. So that is why a guru is very important to guide us in the yoga practice. And people are learning from many places, but we should make sure that whatever we are learning is authentic. We are learning from a right teacher. We are learning from a right source. And the lineage which we are following is also authentic. So for example, there are many recent yogis. Shivananda is a yogi, enlightened master from Rishikesh. He is having one particular lineage. Many people, they follow his lineage and follow his teachings. And further his students were there who were continuing the same lineage. So that way you can follow any lineage and practice under the guidance, and then share the authentic thing forward. So make sure that you are correctly informed, authentically informed about the practice, what you are going to share. It should not be wrong, it should not be made up thing. It should not be just random out of nowhere. You added some physiotherapy thing, you added something from other understanding, then something, and you started saying, oh, I have made my new yoga. It may work good on muscles, it may work good on the body, but how energetically it is working, we don't know. We are not there. So accept the limitations, respect the practice, respect the culture, and moving with proper information. And that is a very big responsibility on us to share the authentic thing. Then coming to the next point in the practice, in the sequencing, that whatever teaching, whatever the sequence you are keeping, it should be effective. What is the objective of the yoga practice? Your sequence should achieve that. You should get that effect in the practitioner's body, mind, through that practice, what you are intended towards. So for example, same effect you can give through 5 asana, but you are giving 10-15 practices and continuously moving the person in the flow, and there is no stillness, no stability in the practice, no holding in the asana. Hatha yoga practice, which we are specifically talking about. So then the effectiveness reduces. So we should make sure that the practice is having its effect and not unnecessarily just wasting time and moving the body. So using the energy of the practitioner properly in proper way, and then making your sequence in such a way that it has deeper effect on the body mind system. Same way, coming to the next point, it is very much connected with this, that is efficiency. The sequencing which you are making, the yoga practices, they should be efficient. Efficiency means less time, less number of practices, deeper effect. It's not necessarily always reduce the number of practices. Sometimes we need enough number of practices also, but efficiency should be maintained. So a efficient sequence moves towards the intended result in a simplest way, not making it complex, not making it unnecessarily hard just to give some small back bending. So keeping it simple, keeping it easy as possible. That doesn't mean that we don't have difficulty or complexities in the yoga practices. We do have, but when they are needed. Unnecessarily not making the practice complex and making it look fancy. So that is one point. Coming to the next point, your class, your sequence, it should be integrated. Now what this point means, integration of the practices and the effect. So yoga practices, whether it is meditation, whether it is asana, they all are having their own effect in different dimensions of our being. Like physically, they have health benefits, they have benefits on the breath, emotions, mental health, thoughts, then they help change our awareness. So your practice should integrate all these dimensions. It should not be only physical workout. It should include all the dimensions of the body mind system, and then take the person more towards evolution of the energy and improvement of their health, improvement of their emotional state, releasing of the emotional suppressions. So all the dimensions are to be integrated. That is what this point is we are meaning here. And moving from in the practice, slowly moving from simple to complexity. Do not start immediately with complex practices. Start with simple and easy practices so that everybody can follow, and then slowly increasing gradually the complexity in the sequencing. Then again, same point which we discussed in teaching methodology, moving from activity to stillness, moving from dynamic to static, movement to stillness. So that also you keep in mind when you are making the sequencing, that you are having that element in your yoga practice sequence. Cultivating the energetic balance also. You can write down these few points. Moving from simplicity to complexity, slowly. Moving from activity to stillness, and cultivating the energetic balance. How you are going to keep the energy activated, and how you are going to not exhaust them at the same time. You have to keep their energy maintained, and how also not to let them remain dull in the practice. That is a skill to master in the yoga teaching. And sometimes many people, they get tired after you have given some practices they get tired, so give them some small relaxation so they can recover, they can catch their breath again and then starting again. So that way maintaining the energetic balance, integrating the effort and the easiness. Same way, like if you keep on giving effortful practices continuously, one by one, 10, 20, 10, 15 practices you have given hard, then person will start exhausting. So make a combination, maybe 2 or 3 intense practices and then one easy practice. Then again few integrated practices in a way that they are having some intensity and then some easiness. That way you can make and you can also play with the energetic balance in the class. Then cultivating sustainable self transformation also. What is sustainable self transformation? Basically not giving anybody injury, not creating any more problems for people. They are already having enough of them, so they are coming for some help, for some improvement to you. So do not, many teachers they force students in some asana and they give injury. Students were coming for some health but they are walking back limping, so it is not a good thing. So sustainable, go slow, steady but good, that is better rather than going fast and getting some fatal injury. And injuries in yoga practice can be very fatal because they take many months. If some muscle tear happens, some tendon, some ligament breaks, they take long time, many months of bed rest to heal. Even in the pranayam, people don't understand what kind of injuries can happen. If you are doing wrong practice of pranayam, it can create nervous system problems, it can create digestive problems, it can create pains in the body. So it is a subtle practice. Pranayam is subtle practice, not as physical, as visible as asana. Same way the injuries are also subtle, on the subtler level of the being, not on immediately visible on the grosser level. They will be revealed later when they will manifest on the physical body, but they will come. So make sure that you are walking with sustainability. Coming to the next point, we have already discussed in teaching methodology, that is peak of the class. How in your yoga sequencing the peak you are going to maintain, peak of energy, peak of heat, peak of effort, peak of awareness. Different types of peaks you can keep in your class, and you can also play with those peaks. You can keep 2 peaks of effort that way. And then coming to the next point, that is time management. A super important point in the yoga sequencing and yoga teaching. So how you are going to divide the time of the practices in your yoga class so that you are able to start the class on the time and you are able to finish the class on the time, and each practice is getting ample time, and at the same time students are not also rushing, class is also not in hurry, and it is also not very slow. It is a balanced pace. How are you going to maintain the pace and along with time management? So just for example, suppose you have 1 hour. You have 1 hour and students are coming to you, they say, I have 1 hour, I want to practice yoga. I want a good yoga practice. I don't know anything else. So very basic module, how will you keep? Suppose they are healthy people, they are young people, not old. We are keeping a small group of 10 people. They are all middle aged, not having much complications. Maybe somebody is having tight hip, tight back, and somebody is slightly obese. Everything is kind of close to normal. So then you start with 10 minutes of warm up. 10 minutes of warm up you give, so that you can activate their breath, activate their body. Then you can give 5 to 10 minutes of Surya Namaskar, sun salutation. You must have practiced this in your hatha and your Ashtanga classes. Surya Namaskar. So if you are taking hatha yoga class, you can give hatha Surya Namaskar, or you can give Ashtanga Surya Namaskar if you are giving some Ashtanga type of, or maybe Vinyasa flow. You may choose not to give also. I am just taking an example. This is just an example. I am making my own small module for 1 hour, just to show you how to keep the time management. So suppose 10 minutes of warm up, 10 minutes of Surya Namaskar I have taken. Then I can keep here 25 minutes of asana. 25 minutes of asana practice I can keep here. Okay, and then you can keep 5 to 10 minutes of pranayam, because asana takes more time. You can keep 5 to 10 minutes of pranayam, and then at the end, since it is not very super intense class, you can keep 5 to 8 minutes of shavasana. So you can change this slightly here and there. You can reduce 10 minutes of warm up to 8 minutes of warm up and increase 2 minutes in shavasana. You can reduce Surya Namaskar and increase more of pranayam. I am just giving an example. So this, suppose in this way you complete your 1 hour. So that is how you can manage your time. And you should always have a clock or a wristwatch with you. It is better to have a clock in your space, a wall clock. So that will help you, because you will keep on checking, and slowly after long time of teaching you will get habituated of, even if there is no clock, you will finish a class, it will be on time. So that also is a skill which slowly will develop within you. So that is how these are the points your sequencing should have. Okay, and now we will see further. Now you are making a sequence. You started making a sequence, suppose. So warming up and awakening the body mind, very first important point. And breath. So people are engaged in different activities before they came to your classroom, and you want to break that pattern which they were having before. Pattern of breath, pattern of emotions, pattern of thoughts, everything you want to neutralize, so that you can work on the energy and the body mind in the fresh way. So for that you can use many such practices to start with. For example, pranayam. You can start with dynamic pranayam, Bhastrika or Kapalabhati. Give many rounds of Bhastrika. It breaks the pattern of the thoughts very nicely. Then you can also give Surya Namaskar as a warm up. It is also good. Surya Namaskar as a warm up also it works. Then you can also give some spinal loosening, some active jogging, jumping, shaking, some any warm up you can include from anywhere to warm up the body. But make sure in warm up keep the check if some person is having knee problem. How will you give a warm up if somebody is having bad knees, arthritis, and they are also having hypertension? What kind of warm up will you give? You cannot make them jump, they have bad knees. You cannot also make their heartbeat increase because they have hypertension. How will you manage that? For them, such kind of cases, you have to modify your warm up. So you can give light bhastrika pranayam. Light bhastrika pranayam, slow bhastrika pranayam. It should not immediately shoot up their BP if they are having hypertension and bad knees. So obviously you cannot make them do all the jumping and jumping jacks and jogging and all that. So first this, then you can give them some spinal movements, some cat-cow type of movement, loosening the spine, loosening the and twisting, some neck movements, some deep breathing. That will also break their previous pattern. Okay, because as we are having rigid thoughts and continuous thoughts, that also makes the muscles tight. So if you can work through muscles, enter into the system through any way to neutralize the tension. Emotionally, you can ask them to do some chanting, you can ask them to do some breathing, you can ask them to do some physical practice, or you can just start with 5 minutes of silence and listening to the sounds of birds or maybe something natural, just to bring them there. So neutralizing can happen in any way. Wherever you find the door, enter through that. So that is first warm up. Then coming to the next point, that is when you start moving towards your peak. So you have not reached the peak fully, but you started walking towards the peak. And warm up is done, and now it is time that you are walking towards the peak. So what kind of sequence you will choose to walk towards the peak? What kind of asana order you will make? So you make in such a way that it energizes the body, it energizes the mind and energizes the breath and calms down the mind and increases the awareness. So they are active and ready for the peak. They should have energy for the peak. So you prepare your pathway to peak in such a way. Peak of awareness, peak of breath activation. Active breath they should have before the peak. Peak of the body heat. So slowly you have to build the heat if you are having a good that intense peak. And then further exploring the peak. You can explore the peak in many ways. The peak of peak in the asana can be from any asana family. You can even choose some small group of asana to create a peak. Like you can use some core practices also to create some peak. You can use some downward dog practices, downward dog variations for the peak, and then some intense practices in downward dog, and then some movements, some drills, some intense holding in downward dog or certain such postures. That is where the person is having good effect on the body, very much aware, breathing nicely, going very well. So that is one thing. and then you can give after the peak minute rest and then continue your practices downhill towards the relaxation. So that way you can explore. And also do not forget to give good transitions. Very important point. Make the class smooth and flowy through transitions. You should slide from one asana to another through transitions, not breaking. Suddenly person is standing and then you have to do sitting asana, so you say, oh, let's come to sitting now, just sit down. Not the way. Giving proper transition, making them into sitting through. There are many ways, like you are standing suppose, and then you can do malasana and sit down. You can take your hands up and then bend forward and then come into tabletop position, kneeling down. Slowly take your legs back, come to kneeling down, do some cat cow breathing, and then sit back on your legs. We have come back. We are now back to sitting. So that way you can give some good transitions. Then another point after transitions, that neutralizing the tension. Neutralizing the tension. Some practices, they create tension in the some specific parts of the body. Like I am doing some core or lifting up the body, some that type of practices that may give some heaviness in my lower back. So you have to loosen the that part, otherwise that part will remain sore, that part will remain tight. So loosen that, stretching that. Just an example I am giving. So after such practices, neutralize the tension which you create in a particular practice. Like for example, after Shirsasana, headstand, you can ask the person to go into Balasana, into child's pose, so that the intense blood flow reversal that happens in the Shirsasana, they can get some relaxation in child's pose. That way you can give some type of neutralizing practices after the intense practice. Then moving into the last few more points, we have also discussed these points in teaching methodology, that how to keep the sequencing of pranayam. Your sequencing of pranayam should also be like this, that it should have all these points which we have discussed here. It should be effective, it should be informed properly. Don't give random breathing, random any breath work. These days in the name of breath work anything is going on. So proper breathing, proper pranayam with proper information, authentic practice. And do not play with their practice. They should have good effect out of the practice. So these are the few points, because pranayam can also do very harm if it is done wrong. Then after pranayam you conclude with shavasana. Same way, according to the intensity of the class, you can give shavasana. If the class is very intense, more relaxation. If the class is less intense, less relaxation. That way. Or you can also give some guided meditation. So this is the way you should make your sequencing and keep the sequencing of the yoga practice. So this was about sequencing. Thank you so much. We'll conclude our session here. Sitting comfortably, adjusting your body here. Let's come down to some settlement, some relaxation. After seeing these points, coming back to the body. and observe the silence. Keeping your spine straight. Relaxing your face, relaxing your shoulders and your chest. Relaxing your palms, your fingers. As you inhale and exhale, join your palms in front of your chest into Anjali Mudra. We will chant 1 Om and 3 Shantis. Inhale deeply. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently releasing your palms down and open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining the session.